The integrity that was supposed to protect Joseph was the same integrity that landed him in trouble.
Welcome to The Gospel with Harmony, revealing the hidden truth in the gospel.
There's a dangerous narrative amongst believers today, which is making many believers miss out. And I'm going to use the life of Joseph in the Bible to expose this. So stay with me, because I'm going to show you something very powerful from the life of Joseph. Imagine that Joseph were in our generation today. All these dramatic prophets all over the place would have prescribed deliverance to Joseph. They would have said something like, Joseph, there is a power from your father's house that is fighting against you. They would have said, oh, you have a generational, curse that needs to be broken. They would have told Joseph, oh, there is a spirit that is monitoring your life, that is following you about. They would have even concluded that Joseph had near success syndrome, because every time Joseph escaped one problem, he walked straight into a bigger problem. When he came out of the pit that his brothers threw him into, he was thrown into slavery. And when he began to flourish in Potiphar's house, he was thrown into prison again. Every small moment of relief for Joseph appeared to be swallowed by a heavier storm. To the natural eyes, it looks like a pattern of disappointment. To the natural eyes, it looks like instability. To the natural eyes, anyone would have called it a spiritual attack. And this is why I said many believers are cheated, because beneath the surface of the circumstances of Joseph, something deeper was happening. It was clearly a divine process, not a punishment for any of his sins. Joseph's destiny was simply unfolding, just like many believers today. Now, while Joseph was in Potiphar's house, he must have felt, oh, finally I can breathe. Finally I have relief. Finally I have a boss, that loves me, puts me in charge of everything, and now I can, just rest. He must have thought to himself, man, I'm not going to dream again. In fact, even if I dream, I'm going to kill that dream, because remember, that dream was actually what triggered the jealousy in his brothers that led to his being put in the pit. In fact, that led to what we can call his tragic experiences. It was this his dream. It was his talkativeness. So he must have thought to himself when he was in Potiphar's house, you see, in this place, I'm going to behave myself. I'm not going to land myself in trouble. I'm going to, walk in integrity. I'm going to just be obedient. I'm going to just do everything fine. I can imagine Joseph saying, this time around, I will never draw attention to myself. In fact, dreaming is so dangerous for me. I will no longer dream again. Just like some believers are trying all their best to keep to some rules. Their pastors are telling them, it is because you did this, you talk too much, that is why this one is happening. It is because you didn't talk. In other cases, it was because you talked too much. In another case, it was because you didn't say something. So you are even confused what to follow. And you think it is your attitude, your behavior that is causing your suffering or your affliction. But here's the irony. What Joseph thought was supposed to protect him was the very thing that landed him in trouble. The integrity that was supposed to protect Joseph was the same integrity that landed him in trouble. His discipline and his purity could not protect him. I'm going somewhere. Let me tell you now. Sometimes you can do everything right and still lose that relationship and still lose that opportunity. You can do your best, you can be faithful, you can be present, you can ensure that you dot every I's and cross every T's, and yet the things you were doing all these things for still somehow slips away. Listen, Joseph must have felt that sting. He must have felt, oh, what I thought was my safest season, I have also lost it. The very place and the very thing that Joseph guarded with his life, with his integrity and everything in him, it was still taken away from him. But here is the truth. Joseph was not moving backward. He thought he was moving backward, but Joseph was actually advancing forward, even though he did not understand the direction that he was heading. To the natural eyes, it looks like a pattern of bad luck, but God was just positioning Joseph for his destiny. Can I ask you a question? Is it bad luck you really have, or God is preparing you for influence? And can I ask you a question? Why did you leave that brother? Why did you leave that sister in their time of trial? Why did you leave them? Because you felt they had bad luck. But hold on, no, because there is something even more fascinating. Do you notice that even as a slave, Joseph was put in charge of everything in his master's house? Do you also notice that even as a prisoner, Joseph was put in charge of other inmates? What kind of a slave is given administrative control, and what kind of a prisoner supervises other inmates? This can only be the handwriting of God. It can only be what you can call the mark of grace. It is not ordinary. It is the divine fingerprint showing that my hand is upon this man. Even though he is here, it's just for a short time. It is a divine fingerprint, even in adversity, showing that God's presence is with Joseph. Just like you can notice in your life that even though it seems like things are not going the way it's supposed to be, you still feel God's presence. You feel, oh, it reminds me of the 3 Hebrew children, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they were put inside that fire. The fire was real, but suddenly it lost the power to consume them. This is how you know that God is with you no matter what you're going through. What you are going through will not consume you because there is a greater hand involved. God never promised believers a life without trouble. In Psalms 34 verse 19, he said, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivered them from them all." He did not promise believers a life without trouble, but he promised to be with them in all of it. And he promised to deliver them. Romans 8 verse 31 says, "If God be for us, who can be against us?" Can I tell you something? Affliction may come, but affliction will never have a final say. God is too involved in your life for your story to collapse. Hear it again. God is too involved in your life for your story to collapse. Listen, the bigger the calling, the stranger the journey. So I don't care the loss, I don't care the injustice, I do not care the delay. It's still a movement, just in disguise. So God is only positioning you through process. If you are blessed by this, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Someone needs to know that what looks like a setback is actually a setup.